Gorbachev that I thought that the priorities were wrong and that it would be hard to sustain. Of course, that is in fact what happened. In my judgment, there was no exogenous factor that was more important in the collapse of the Soviet Union than what happened in China as a result of that decision of Deng Xiaoping in early December 1978. I said I'd refused to go to China earlier than 78 myself. We had unions from the ACTU going up there and coming back with glowing reports and urging me to go and invitations to go, but I said I wasn't going while the Gang of Four was still in place. But as soon as they were out, I went up there. So my experience that I've just briefly covered has coincided exactly with that transformation of China from a command economy to the, as they are pleased to call it, the socialist market economy with Chinese characteristics, however you like to describe it. There's no point in detailing the statistics, the magnitude of what has happened. The point I simply want to make in this context is that without any doubt whatsoever, the changes in China were the major exogenous catalyst in bringing about the collapse of the Soviet Union. Going to the post-collapse period, I think it's interesting to note in terms of the changes that now have been occurring in the world since then, that you had this strange situation while the Soviet Union was in existence, the Cold War was operating, that with the Soviet Union as an atheistic, hegemonistic power, it provided a cement which held together nations of the Judeo-Christian Muslim traditions. It was this common hatred of the atheistic, hegemonistic Soviet Union which held together these disparate nations, and suppressed hatreds and differences remained suppressed while the threat of the Soviet Union was there. But interestingly, when that cement of anti-Sovietism dissipated with the collapse of the Soviet Union, those suppressed hatreds, of course, gradually came to the surface and erupted most dramatically on 9/11. And in terms of what has been happening since, I think it's been fascinating to see the way, coming back to China, in which China has essentially played a very cooperative role with the United States in terms of the fight against terrorism. They were immediate in their response to the events of 9/11, expressing their sympathy and intention to cooperate with the Soviet Union, with the United States in meeting this new threat. And the greatest single measure, I think, of the intensity of that commitment to cooperate with the United States was their preparedness to accept with relative equanimity something that they never would have done before, and that was the stationing of United States Armed Forces in the Central Asian republics. And it's something they would not previously have contemplated, but accepting as they did the significance of the new situation and dangerous situation, they cooperated with the United States and essentially have been cooperative in regard to this question of the threat of Islamic terrorism. I think if we're talking about this situation, it's very important that we get this perspective. There's no doubt that the Islamic terrorism, which was so dramatically manifested on 9/11, is something which has constituted a new and vastly disturbing element in international relations today. But let's make it clear that it's not Islam and the Muslim religion that is the problem any more than it is Christianity or Judaism, which is the problem. Religions are not the problem, it's the fanatics within these religious groupings that are the problem. I always say to people, remember that it was not a Muslim fanatic who murdered the Israeli Prime Minister Rabin, it was a Jewish fanatic. And the problem we have now in this post-collapse of the Soviet Union period, where these new and quite different forces of challenge to the stability of international relations are operating, it's important, I believe, that we do everything we possibly can to create a greater degree of understanding between the Muslim and non-Muslim world. So much is happening in terms of tension and potential conflict arises from the propagation of fanatic points of view, not only by the Muslim world but the extreme right-wing Christian fanatics in the United States. This sort of poisoning of the international atmosphere is making the post-Soviet situation one which is failing to deliver the prosperity and security that we'd all hoped would be a characteristic of the period after the collapse of the Soviet Union. I think that if you look at the region, people talk about flashpoints here, flashpoints there, but my own view is the most dangerous flashpoint in the region is Pakistan. This is a country which is basically non-functional. It has no government. It has an absolutely corrupt president. Both political parties are corrupt, and it is a situation where, as we know, they're in possession of a significant number of nuclear weapons, and you have elements of the armed forces there who are sympathetic to and associated with Taliban and Al-Qaeda. This is an area where I think we need to begin to think outside the circle. It becomes very hard for me, with the background I have, to talk about giving some sort of blessing to a military dictatorship. But as I look at Pakistan and look at the total corruption on both sides of the politics there, I believe, and I've had some discussions with some leading figures in the United States about this, the time has come when we perhaps need to think about a discussion with Kayani, who's the army chief, the military boss in Pakistan, a man regarded as of impeccable integrity, with no political ambitions whatsoever. It seems to me the time has come where it would make sense to think about endorsing an interim period where Kayani could have military rule in Pakistan with the clear statement that this was a limited period with no intention of prolonging military rule, but the period would be dedicated to creating an environment in which the political parties would be cleansed, and creating a situation where you had the possibility of a proper, fair, democratic election for a administration which would move to create real stability within that country. This is an unusual sort of situation to contemplate, but looking at it, I can see no alternative, because you certainly will not get any sort of degree of stability in the present type of situation where there is this